Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight, where we look at what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Well, it appears that the green energy expectations of the EU have not been met, despite their best efforts and the huge amount of money they've thrown at them. Plus, in Europe, the natural gas price remains high and even rising higher than before, and the heating season's not actually started. Now, this is due to a number of factors. Now, in the worst case scenario, prices could actually reach $1,000 per thousand cubic metres again. However, on the other hand, problems in the European gas market could provide an opportunity to launch the one surviving section of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Yeah, they blew up the other three, but one's still working. Gas prices in Europe have started to rise again before the heating season starts. In September, the average gas price at Europe's Title Transfer Facility, the TTF, was 422, and it rose by 10% to 463, according to the market prices. Now, that's for 1,000 cubic metres, by the way. At the same time, prices in the first half of the year were much lower, averaging around 310 per 1,000 cubic metres. But the futures price continues to rise. Price was not actually unexpected because everybody was expecting them to grow again. I mean, this is supposedly the low season, but because of a number of factors. When the summer's over, there's no need to spend peak amounts of gas on air conditioning and other power needs. And the winter with its peak consumption has not yet arrived. That's the sort of scenario you expect in the beginning of the spring. But gas prices in Europe fell to 270 per 1,000 cubic metres last autumn. However, this situation hasn't repeated itself this year. So why is Europe once again facing the prospects of expensive gas and another round of energy inflation? Well, the price increase was partly due to the Ukrainian invasion of the Russian Kursk region, which through the remaining gas pipeline to Europe through the Ukraine passes. And one day prices went from 360 to 480 per 1,000 cubic metres because they thought the transit might be stopped by the military action in the Sudzha region. Now, gas prices in Europe are rising this week due to the reduced LNG supplies from the US, where Storm Rafael forced the evacuation of workers from oil and gas platforms. Secondly, Europe's become windless. The wind isn't blowing. That's led to a drop in renewable energy production and a simultaneous need for more gas. If wind doesn't blow, the windmills don't go. According to Bloomberg's model, wind generation is likely in Germany to reach its minimum level for the last 2 years, and the hope lies with its gas-fired power plants. Now, before I continue, I'd like to make an appeal. If you like and enjoy my videos, you can help me fund the channel and my website, SCOBRICSInsight.com, and to further develop it. You can do this by making a donation, which can be done by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom of the video screen. Everybody who donates does get a personal thank you from me, and I'm thanking you all now just for watching, because every view is important to me. At the same time, heating demand in Europe is still actually subdued because of the moderate level of temperatures, and that's helped to limit the price growth for the moment. Now, in addition, Europe is approaching the start of the heating season with its gas storage facilities filled to almost 95%. Much of this is not only depend on the presence of sun and wind, but also on the temperature. In the past 2 years, Europe's had very mild winters, with temperatures almost never dropping much below zero during the day, and they might do a little at night. But now the mystery remains. Nobody knows what temperatures will be this time, so prices will remain relatively high. If it's anything to do with Russia, we've just had a huge snowfall and it's -10 every night, so I think Europe might be just in for something there, because it's a bit early for us. Temperature is the most important factor in the gas market in Europe. Also, the second major factor is the uncertainty of Ukrainian transit due to the military action and the transit agreement expiring at the end of December 2024. So gas futures are being bought now, and when the transit, if it stops, they can be sold on and make a profit from the rising prices. That's the case for those who pump the into gas at the underground storage facilities in the summer, they're going to benefit. They'll sell it at a higher price. Obviously, the third factor influencing gas prices in Europe is the situation in Asia. And there's always fierce competition with Asian LNG buyers. I mean, the European markets become very dependent on what happens in Asia. If consumption in Asia grows, they buy LNG from around the world and they're prepared to pay higher prices for it. So Europeans have to then pay higher prices to try and compete for the supplies. Now, the fourth factor creating tension in the European gas market is the talk of preparing the 15th energy anti-Russian sanctions package that might affect LNG. I mean, Europeans have already banned the transshipment of Russian LNG in their ports, and if they impose an embargo on LNG supplies, even with a delay until the end of 2025, that will cause a serious jump in prices. Although I do think that Trump now being elected to the White House is going to change that policy. Russia usually ranks second or third in the LNG market in terms of monthly deliveries to the EU. So if the EU is deprived of Russian LNG, it's going to be a tougher fight with China for LNG for the US, Algeria, Qatar and even Australia. And of course, the winners in these battles are those who are prepared to pay the higher prices. Now, what can Europe expect this winter? Well, this is a normal winter, not as warm as the last 2 years, but with normal gas production rates from the gas storage with the frost at the end of the heating season, then prices will rocket. I mean, frost in March is the worst thing that can happen to Europeans because there's normally not a lot of gas left in the underground storage facilities. They need to leave a bit in there to stop them from being damaged. So there's restrictions on how much they can take out. However, taking into account the drop in gas consumption in recent years, I mean, it's dropped by more than 100 cubic metres since 2022, and the ratio of gas injection to around 95% this year. I don't expect a gas deficit, or the fact that Europeans will freeze. Well, they probably won't, but if they can afford their heating, they won't. But I mean, who can afford their heating in Germany? I mean, the question is more an economic nature. The situation will lead to an increase in gas prices, then electricity prices, and that creates an increase in industrial and household expenses, an increase in inflation, and a slowdown in the European economy because of the rising costs. And then, of course, authorities will introduce restrictions on the supply of heat and electricity to certain categories of consumers, mainly the industrial ones, or those industrial ones that are left. I mean, for Europeans, the worst case scenario is a combination of several negative factors. First, a cold and frosty winter, and then the Europeans will see they're rapidly using up the gas from the storage facilities, and the only way to slow that down is to increase imports. Now, imports can only be increased by competing with Asia for LNG, which means they have to offer a higher price. So that could drive prices way above the $1,000 per cubic metres. Plus, if the UK transit is stopped, it will be a perfect storm. In these conditions, Europeans can really not do much more to get Russian gas except launch the surviving pipe of the Nord Stream 2. That's got a capacity of 27.5 billion cubic metres a year. And that will solve all our problems. I mean, at the end of 2010, for example, Europe experienced a very cold winter with major frost even at the end of March. Nord Stream 1 was in operation, but it wasn't allowed to operate at full capacity due to the crazy EU antitrust laws. So under the guise of testing, Germany started the gas pipeline at full capacity before the end of the heating season. Therefore, if there's an emergency in the winter, I don't rule out that Germany could repeat something similar and say, to Gazprom, let's start Nord Stream 2 and let's check to see if it works, etc., just on the interests of safety and whatever. I mean, I know Gazprom's pumped the buffer gas out of the pipeline, but that can be put back into operation within a few days. And a completely new gas pipeline could actually solve the European problems. I mean, I think they've actually worked it all out now, but I mean, theoretically, they could use the Yamal Europe through Poland. That comes through Belarus as well. But the Polish are so involved in their sanctions, and trying to get an agreement with Poland is a bit like trying to herd cats. It doesn't look it's going to work. Anyway, thanks for watching. So Europe's gas saga continues, so please like and share, subscribe, help me by pressing on the thanks button at the bottom of the screen, make a small donation, and don't forget to comment. I love all your comments. See you all again soon.